and ended up dead. And so Mrs. Robinson is suing the city for loss of her reputation and her job. And this is what the trial is about. So your job is to decide what you think she has suffered.
Do you solemnly swear or affirm that you will truly listen to this case and render a true verdict? Today's case is the state of Alabama versus Helen Robinson.
Is the prosecution ready?
We are, Your Honor.
Is the defense ready?
The defense is ready, Your Honor. If it may please the court, my name is Samuel Burkheim, and I'll be giving the opening statement for my client. This case involves the state of Alabama and Bob Ewell. We are suing these parties for false accusations against my client's husband, Tom Robinson, who was falsely accused for raping Mayella Ewell, Bob Ewell's daughter.
Prosecution, you may call your first witness.
I call to the stand Atticus Finch.
Please raise your right hand. Your right hand. Do you swear to tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
Yes, sir.
Do you swear to tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
I do.
Mr. Finch, can you please tell the court what you could see about Mr. Robinson as a father and provider for his family during the trial?
He was a wonderful, caring father. He was honestly one of the nicest people I have He was honestly one of the nicest men I have ever met in my life. He worked very hard to provide for his family, and he was subject to a very unethical trial, and he didn't get a fair verdict. It's such a shame that he's dead now.
And you were the defendant attorney for him, correct?
Yes.
So, do you think that he felt confident about winning the trial, or did he feel that his chances were null because of the color of his skin?
He felt
Or
very...
because he was guilty?
He was not guilty.
Can you state your name for the court?
I am, Atticus Finch.
Well, as some would know, a majority of crimes are not premeditated. Most of them are done on impulse. A lot of them also have motivation. Motivation for Tom Robinson's crime may not be known, but it was done and he was found guilty of it. Mr. Robinson, you defended Tom Robinson in a case earlier, as we all know, but in defending him, what relation would you have to Helen Robinson?
I have talked to her about the trial, and when she needed someone to talk to, I was there. This does not contribute to the court.
This does not contribute to the court. Well, I would beg to differ, because the court is about the slander on Helen Robinson.
I know that you work for the Finch family, so what do you do for them exactly?
I work as a nanny taking care of the Finch children.
And how long would you say you've worked for Atticus Finch?
I've worked for him for about 19 years.
Okay. When did...
Now, Ms. Calpurnia, how well do you know Mrs. Robinson?
Well, I go to church with Helen, and we have been friends for about 6 years. I would say I know her pretty well.
Is it true that you have never attended school?
Yes, sadly I never attended school, but I have basic education from reading law books that Mr. Finch has.
Basic education. So, with such low standard of education, most people get at least a GED or something. How can we expect for your testimony to be accurate with such difficult terms being thrown around, especially in a court, especially in an important court, with a lot of money on the line?
Because I have basic knowledge, I speak well, I can read, I learned many things from the Finch family. One doesn't...
The whole truth, and nothing but the truth.
Yeah.
But the truth, so help you God.
I do.
Ms. Cook, you are the current caretaker of Helen Robinson, correct?
Yes, Ms. Robinson is currently living with my family, and we are her current financial support.
Okay. So, what can you tell me about her current mental state that happened as a result of the trial?
She's very depressed, and she's having
troubles functioning on her own in her daily life because of her husband's murder.
Can you tell me anything more about Bob Uwell's stalking and or harassment?
Miss Cook, how long have you lived in Macomb?
I have lived in Macomb all my life ever since my family moved here. I was born here.
And how do you know Mrs. Robinson originally?
I go to church with Miss Robinson, and I've known her family. We had our kids around the same time.
Church. In the South, especially in a state such as Alabama, church is often a common theme, something that is known to decrease the amount of depression, a community within a community, if you will. Methodists, Muslims, Catholics, it doesn't matter. They all produce the same results. How can you prove your relationship to Miss Robinson?
Whole truth, nothing but the truth, so help you God.
Ms. Robinson, I understand it's a very tough time for you, but I'll ask you these questions. Did your husband change during the trial?
Yes, he became very sad and even angry because he was being falsely accused of raping a woman that he was helping.
Do you mind telling the jury why you are suing the state of Alabama?
The all-white jury of this town found my husband guilty for a crime that he did not commit, even though there was no evidence.
Miss Robinson, have you applied for welfare?
Yes,
Why were you denied?
I was denied because of the reputation I now have because of this trial and Mayella Ewell's false accusations against my husband.
Since you've been denied welfare, have you attempted to get a job and return to the workforce in order to establish an income for your children?
Yes,
How's that going?
no one will hire me
And why is that?
because of all the terrible accusations against my family.
So you're saying in all of Macomb, no one will hire you? Interesting. Which is understandable. It's not fair that the Ewells would have to be scared on their own property at night, especially in a township so close as Macomb's. What issues have you had with your way of life with Mayella's PTSD after the incident many years ago?
Mayella has become known to become triggered, so to speak, and when she hears certain sounds, she can go into panic attacks and other such occurrences, and it is very stressful on family, and we are very concerned for her well-being. Can you please repeat the question?
Did you rape your daughter?
No.
Your Honor, objection. This has nothing to do with the case.
Sustained.
Did you tell Miss Robinson's boss that she was terrible and that she knew her husband raped Mayella, your daughter?
No.
Did you follow Miss Robinson around, yell at her while you were drunk, and harass her?
No.
Why?
Please raise your right hand. Do you swear to tell the truth, the whole truth, nothing but the truth, so help you God?
Miss Mayella, from your previous encounters with Tom Robinson, your doctors have come to tell me that you've been suffering from a case of post-traumatic stress disorder. Is that correct?
Yes.
And how has this affected you in your daily life?
It's hard to function around people. I have to stay at home because I have random panic attacks, and so it makes it hard to function.
Now, with that, how has your mental state stopped you from advancing in your...
What would you say was going on through your head when you decided to accuse this man of rape?
I thought that I should bring justice to the town because a rapist should not be running wild on the streets.
Do you realize that you have ruined the lives of many people because of these accusations?
Your Honor, objection. The prosecution is badgering my witness.
Am I? As far as I'm concerned, my client is out of a job, no longer able to support herself, and your client, Mr. Uwell, has slandered my witness.
Your Honor, I object to these slanderous claims being brought upon my witnesses. He's badgering my witnesses and accusing them, even though that they're in the same boat as Miss Robbie.
They could have thought he was at risk of harming somebody else, sir. He could have been armed. He could have been armed and dangerous. He was a prison escapee. He could have, considering he was at close range like that, they might have gotten into a
He has
hand-to-hand.
one limp arm. How could he assault two or
Sustained.
three officers?
Sir, I'm gonna ask you one more time to sustain yourself, or I will have to escort you out of this courtroom for contempt.
As I was saying, the officers may have felt endangered, and they have thought nothing else.
Thank you for your time, Your Honor. Members of the jury, you have heard the testimony about the unfair trial and treatment of Tom Robinson. For the trial involving the rape of Mayla Uwell, I would like to remind you of some very pertinent information from the trial you should just consider. These facts include that Tom Robinson was killed in cold blood while trying to escape prison. While yes, it is an illegal act to escape prison, shooting him 17 times in the chest is overkill. You could just as easily shoot him in the leg and bring him back. Considering he has only one good arm, which is his right arm, and Mayla Uwell was struck, according to the previous court trial, she was struck by a left-handed man, in which Bob Uwell is left-handed. Now, how could a limp, left-armed man assault Mayla Uwell in the right side of her face? Sounds like to me Bob Uwell did it. Also, and as I said already by the trial on the left hand, Tom Robinson is right-handed. He has to learn how to chop wood with one hand, which is kind of amazing to me. I could never do that. My client, Helen Robinson, has to carry this around with her for the rest of her life. She can't get a job. She's an embarrassment to the entire town. No one will hire her. Bob Uwell goes around slandering her. He goes around harassing her, stalking her. He damages other people's property just to get to her. I ask you now, please, help Miss Robinson get the justice that her family and herself deserve by finding the town of Macomb and Bob Uwell guilty of unethical treatment.
The defense, you may proceed.
With the witnesses and arguments presented to the jury, I would behoove you to look over your evidence carefully and not allow public tax dollars to be wasted on a false cash grab. The prosecution has tried to badger my witnesses, slander their names while in court, and verbally abuse my witness, which has post-traumatic stress disorder, which is a serious condition for people that have gone through these experiences. They also bring about baseless claims of damage to property without bringing in evidence, and try to fill the jury's head with alternative facts. Instead, let the prosecution's client, Ms. Robinson, reapply for welfare, because not only have they done all this, but Mr. Ewell is also in poverty, and he can barely even sustain himself, but he doesn't come to court about the Robinson family. I rest my case.
Members of the jury, you have heard all of the testimony concerns in this case. It is now up to you to determine the facts. You and you alone are the judges of these facts. You will decide on a foreman who will deliver your verdict. The verdict will be a majority of the votes. You can vote by show of hands of who is guilty and not guilty.
Shouldn't they go in the other room and decide amongst
I don't know